We'll now like to move on to the next segment, which is the delivery of the opening keynote. Joining us virtually to deliver the opening keynote is Senior Director and Executive Leader at Forrester India. Mr. Mazher Hashmi will deliver the opening keynote on being normal in the new normal. He leads the technology business for Forrester India and is a trusted advisor to C-suite of tech companies and helps them reinvent themselves in ever-changing business environment. He has extensively worked with startups as well as large companies to solve complex business problems. In his career spanning over 2 decades, Mazher has worked in many capacities, including scientist, software developer, management consultant, entrepreneur, and international business leader in reputed organizations. He's going to talk about how pandemic-induced shifts will change business and technology forever, and how these shifts will take place over the short, medium, and long term, forcing businesses to become creative, adaptive, and resilient. All attention on the screens, please. Over to Mr. Mazher Hashmi.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I was supposed to be there in person today, but unfortunately, I couldn't make it. Due to travel restriction, I was really very, very excited about it. I was so excited. I even told my wife not to, cook dinner because I'm going to bring biryani from Hyderabad. But I'm glad I could make it and make it here virtually. And then I realized, isn't it the live demonstration of what I'm going to talk about today? How to be normal, how to be resilient and agile. Today, I'm sitting in my home office and talking to you, and I'm really excited, for this session. It was very inspiring to listen to Mr. Jayesh. Now, in order to define, how to be normal in the new normal, let's see, what the new normal is. What are the changes that has happened over the period? Forrester analysts across the globe have, so I'll be merciful and not be a little more considerate and not show the graphs going up and down. We all have spent enough time staring at the curves, counting daily cases. So I'm not going to bore you with that, and especially with the new, with the new second wave, the graphs are going all the way up to the stratosphere. This is an imaginary representation of the Big Bang. I'm not suggesting that the Big Bang and this pandemic is kind of same, in terms of its impact. But there is one thing that is common in both the event that has actually changed things globally, and that is the irreversible change. There are changes, so I'm going to talk about some of the changes. First, analysts across the globe has put together their thoughts on some of the major changes this pandemic has infused that is going to change the business and technology. When I say forever, I know forever is a very extravagant term, but we truly believe that those changes will happen and will have a lasting impact. There is one caveat though. We saw those changes coming, but what this pandemic has done is it has galvanized and made it radically faster and more disruptive. So let's see what those changes are. The customer expectation, we have made those changes between short term, mid term, and a long term. Short term is somewhere between 12 to 24 months. Midterm is between 2 years to 5 years, and a long term is 5 years onwards. Onwards does not mean eternity. Primarily, long term would be somewhere by end of this decade. So what you're seeing is, in a short term, the consumer's risk aversion as well as their convenience will coexist. In a midterm, once the dust settles, they will be spending or they'll be opening their wallet for companies who care about environment, who care about values, the environmental sustainability, or green energy, those kind of things. And so the companies who are having those values will see better reception from their customers. And in the long term, the freedom of experience will become the new luxury status symbol. Businesses will ride the digital wave. This is not a news. With only caveat, what will happen in the short term? There were a lot of companies who were not digital savvy, but what happened is they tried to leapfrog and become digital. And what will happen is they will actually face the wrath of bad customer experience. In the long term, in a short to long term, once every company, every business will become digital, they will try to, they will see an anticipatory experience clash with the privacy backlash, because there's tons of data out there, and there'll be major challenge on the privacy. Empathy first. Mr. Jesh spoke about that. I'm very glad to hear that the mid-sized companies in Hyderabad did not necessarily let go of people. But one thing that we are going to see that especially the companies who have let go or who have not been very empathetic to their workforce will see some kind of a downfall. In a short term, a policymaker will seize opportunity on the low-cost region of larger economy, and that is also something that Mr. Kiran and Mr. Jay spoke about. That the newer, smaller, geographies will emerge as a leader, because of the digitization. And in a long term, the redistribution of the there'll be a redistribution of the hyper urbanization, and technically you can work from anywhere. So you will be asking, the workforce will ask, the globally benchmark salaries. A smart firm will retire technical debt. This is no brainer. Of course, everyone is trying to retire the technical debt to ride the next wave of disruption. One thing that we're seeing is there'll be a widespread adoption of microservices, serverless computing, containers, and it will actually it'll speed up the public cloud and industry-specific cloud environment, and that is going to thread the hyperscalers. In a long term, business resilience. I think Mr. Jayesh did touch upon business resilience. Business resilience will be a part of both mid-term, short-term, and long-term planning. Just that in a short term, it is a part of all the most of the boardroom discussions of the enterprises. The reshoring will happen in the long term, and that is going to impact the supply chain. So these are some of the shift that is happening in a short, medium, and long term that will force organizations or the businesses to become creative, adaptive, and resilient. Forrester has put up a very nice report. If you happen to be a Forrester client, I would highly recommend you to read that research. And if you're not, then do send me an email. I'll send you a copy of that report. Now, pandemic has made some really impossible thing possible. Remote working, for example. 3 years down the line, no one could really imagine, working or allowing their workforce to work out of an ODC, work outside an ODC. But today it is possible. So, though it had some really, bad effects, health-wise or financially, but it has actually pushed organizations to do things which we initially thought were not possible. Now, with the vaccination and a full flow, I truly believe there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We see the global tech the global tech spending is coming back to normal. Not to the the pre-2019 growth rates, but definitely better than what it was last year. As Edward Deming says, in God we trust, and all of the rest should bring data. And since I'm no God, I'm going to show you some data. Two major economies of the tech spend, the North America and the European region, and both of them are seeing a fair amount of growth. Europe was kind of had a major dip last year, but that's seeing a positive growth, and so is the US. And the good news is the new project share of the tech budget will revert back to the 30% levels. So not the one which are already existing technology budgets, but the new budgets, the new projects. So that's the good news. Now let's look into the European and the North American market separately. uh, that, this is the typical tech spend. Most of the tech spend happens in telecom, tech outsourcing, CIS, the staff salaries, software, communication, computer peripherals. But I believe tech outsourcing, tech consulting, and software is the major area where you play in. And the way to look at, and we are seeing a growth out there, and that is to the tune of 15 billion euros. So compared to what it was in 20 or what was in 2020. So there's an additional 15 billion euros that is up for grabs in the European region only on tech spend, focused only on tech outsourcing and software. Let's see what is happening in the US. You're seeing a slightly higher growth. Forrester is projecting 3% growth. And those growth will come primarily from software, software as a service, or the single instance hosted subscription software. These are some of the prime drivers of growth in the US. Cloud related tech consulting as well as tech outsourcing will see a growth up till 10%, which means there's an additional $15 billion up for grabs in 2021. So that is the positive outlook that I'm talking, and that is the positive outlook that I'm talking about, right? So the market is up; it is available for you to take it. Now let's move on to find out what exactly. Let's do a little bit double click, and that's the most important question. Where's the money? Who's spending? What are they spending on, and where do they exist? So let's see who they are. It's a very busy slide. The way you read this slide is, so I've compared the growth rate of different various industries vis-a-vis the tech budget that we have. And the way you read this slide is towards your right are the industries who spent more, and on the top of the y-axis are the industries whose growth is more, right? So in order to make your life easier, the top spender remains financial services, professional services, insurance, utilities, and government. And the top growth sector remains healthcare, utilities, insurance, high tech, and government. There are no surprises, but I thought I'll call it out there. No surprises in terms of the way they're spending. And there's no entrant in this as well, barring healthcare and utilities, which did not see that kind of growth in pre-2020 days, pre-COVID days. Here's a distribution of different industries. One thing that I want to call out is the top 6 industries contribute to 3/4 of the tech spend. That is, the BFSI alone is like 23%, kind of like a quarter in spend. Professional services, government, media information, and telecommunication. So these are the industries that spend the most money. Now let's say where they are. Of course, US is the top spender on technology that everyone knows. It is around to the tune of 1.7 trillion US dollars that they're going to spend on technology this year is what Forrester is forecasting. But barring that, UK remains the second largest tech spender, despite Brexit and maybe the performance in cricket lately. They still remain the top spender in technology, next to France, Germany, and Italy. Australia and India are somewhere in the range of 70 and 74 billion US dollars, but this is largely where most of the tech companies are happening. Actually, see there's a more data on some of the smaller geographies which are also emerging that we should look at, especially from a small and medium tech companies perspective. Now. What are they spending on? So, Forrester did a reconnect survey. We reached out to the tech buyers, before COVID and after COVID, and asked them about, before COVID, we usually reach out to them to check with them on their tech spend, what are they spending on, what they're not spending on, etc. And we, last year we did a reconnect as well and asked them, what are the additional dollars that you have spent on during the pandemic? The top results were mobility, IT security, cloud infrastructure, network, and software. But those are, and most of it was related to the cloud. I mean, the cloud was the key to, the cloud was one of the most important technology piece that everyone was spending their money on. But that's not really a news for you, all right? So what's the news? Forrester, as we put companies on a Forrester wave on things that they're doing. Those who are leaders, those who are laggards. But we put technology as well, and we evaluate various technology on which are the tech, and we suggest our clients to invest in those technology, and they're investing in it as well. And we put that into 4 key buckets. We invest, divest, maintain, and experiment. So the mature technology, which is not showing a lot of business value, we suggest them to divest. Technology areas which are relevant today, we suggest them to maintain. But there is a technology area which is not as matured, but it has extremely high business value, and we suggest those technology to for them to invest in, because that is what is going to show them the business value later. So I have, we have done work on, we have evaluated many such technology, but I have identified 4 these technology areas that I believe will benefit the small and medium business. I typically don't want to call that term small and medium business, because basically you're emerging technology. Mr. Kiran spoke about the number of unicorns that we have here. And I hope that you will all become unicorns and large enterprises, all large enterprises, once fair, smaller ones, like all of you. So emerging technology is what I truly want to use for small and medium business, because that kind of like looks a little negative. Anyway, so the first one, extended CRM. When there's a money on the table, everyone wants to grab that. But when there's a lesser such table, you want to grab it even more, right? So the way you connect with the customer is extremely important, and it has become even more important today, because when there are a lot of people who are trying to grab the consumer's wallet, the organizations as well as the tech companies. Extended CRM is one of the technology area which has not been invested in a lot, but it has very high business value. For example, loyalty management, like sales engagement platforms, or a social story, or customer analytics. There are a few companies out there. It is not a very mushroom space, if you will. So I would highly recommend you to look at this technology area and invest in it. We all know, second one is cloud. It's no brainer. Everyone is talking about the cloud migration. Everyone is talking about, digitization, which is great. Everyone and everyone is on it. But what's next of cloud? And that's cloud governance and enablement. And those are the areas which is still low in maturity. There's a lot of investment that needs that. When I say investment in research, that needs to go in to build better and more sustainable product or solutions out there. So these are some of the top technology areas within cloud governance and enablement that I would suggest you to look at. I thought of putting automation here, but I did not for a reason, because automation is kind of embedded into everything. Just fun fact, how much money is being invested on, how much money is spent on writing codes globally? $1.3 trillion, and half of it is to fix those bugs. That's a huge market. That's a huge area that is still lying unattended, and that you should really invest on. So VSMs, or continuous functional test automation suites, both services as well as on a product side, are the areas that you should really focus on. This is also a very high business value and a lower maturity at the moment. Next up is climate adaptation. As I said in the beginning, consumers will open wallet for organizations which care about environment, which care about values. And that is going to open up a whole lot of technology space that people will invest in, because the climate adaptation and resiliency has become critical to how firms can survive and successfully adapt to the environment and the market impact on the climate. And we truly believe that's an area that is going to come up in future. So that is something that you should really invest on. So we have spoken about where the money is, who's spending, where they're spending on. Let's see what has changed in the way they buy. What are the changes in the sourcing and purchase decisions? The good news is your traditional buyer, CIO, still holds the key. I mean, not the CIO, but the CIO organization still holds the key. They are the ones. So Forrester defines the purchase journey into discover, explore, buy, and engage phase based on the life cycle of the customer. There is one change: CXO and the line of business. These are the two key elements that is getting added, and there are the scores are the percentage are getting higher and higher every year. So the traditional the technology buyer are fine. You should connect with them, but in addition to that, the line of business has become very, very critical. And this is also, and this graph is not isolated. This is in comparison to when we ask them about the purchase involvement in different departments, and especially I'm talking about the deal size of somewhere between $20,000 to less than $1 million of ticket size. 59% of the deal that is happening today is on a consensus purchase. When I say consensus purchase, I'm talking about the number of departments that are involved in making a purchase decision is 2 to 5, and that is and that involves the business buyers as well. So I believe, and that is actually complementing the one the slide that I showed before, that it is complementing the purchase decision that is happening today. Committee purchase usually is more than 5 departments. It happens when the deal size is slightly bigger, usually large service or transformation deals. Or in a very complex organization, the committee purchase happens, but most of the purchase today is happening consensus. There are 2 to 5 departments of people that are involved in it. We asked them about the purchase motivation. Why do you buy? From whom you buy? And 30% of them said the tech provider brought in innovation, and they understood our business need. When I say innovation and competitive advantage, I'm not talking about your competitive advantage. I'm talking about your client's competitive advantage. So you have to bring in that business acumen so that you can help your customer gain that extra competitive advantage in their marketplace. Of course, you have to bring in your own competitive advantage as well, but when you are going and talking to them, you need to align yourself with the business needs and understand their business better. So we have learned a lot on what the market is, where the money is, who's spending, how they're spending it, how they're buying, etc. So we have come to a point wherein we talk about, and that's where Forrester gets paid, what you should do specifically. You've heard about the elevator pitches. I'm going to give you 3-floor elevator advice. First one, align your revenue engine. Now, this sounds very cliche. This is something that say, all right, this is something we do. No, you don't do that. A lot of people don't do that. Sales, marketing, and product Forrester defines as the revenue engine of your organization, and that needs to work collectively and cohesively, as collective, as cohesive as possible. And most of the organizations that we work with, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. Well, that works in charity or possibly things that you don't want your spouse to know about, but in an environment, in a business environment, it has to work in tandem. What I mean by aligning those revenue engines, all the 3 departments should speak the same language. It is a lot easier for the emerging tech companies to actually do that and build than that of a large company because of the sheer scale and the size of those organizations. But the emerging tech companies must align them, speak the same language, the way leads are generated, the way leads are attributed internally, to having a same view of what the customer needs and wants, right? And The company size between 1 million to $50 million, we did this research and we found that those companies who have their sales, marketing, and product aligned grow 19% faster and they are 15% more profitable, right? So this is not something just in the air. Second up is co-innovation, hyper-personalization. And this is what I call it, put your skin in the game, know your business. 50% of the transformation service contract will include some portion of the outcome-based pricing, which means that you are putting your skin in the game. So you need to innovate with your customer to truly understand what they are, what their needs are, and make it personal. You have been invited, or you are just going there. You have a seat on the table, which means that they know that you know technology. So don't go and brag about you know technology, because technology and that's why you've been called. Remember the slide that I spoke about the business buyers? They want to learn about how you're making an impact in their business, right? So bring in an functional expertise in your sales deals. That is going to make a lot of difference in the way you approach your customer. Last not the least, Forrester does this research called customer experience index, wherein we evaluate the impact of revenue on the customer experience. We've gone a little further, and especially post-pandemic, because employees are important. They are the most important assets that you have. Kiran did mention you don't have an inventory. People are your assets. So you really need to take care of them, give them tools, give them technology, give them flexibility, so that they can help you with your customers. So a greater employee experience enables greater customer experience, enables greater dollars. Again, emerging tech company can do it a lot better than those who are with 100,000 people out there. And these are the 3-floor elevator advice that I had. And with that, I want to thank you for your patience listening. Again, apologies, I am not around for you to grab me, but I'm available on a cyberspace, not the one in Hyderabad, but on web. Do send me an email or connect with me if there is any question that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mazher Hashmi. Thank you for sharing with us those high impact data visuals and analytics. A couple of aha moments. You've also helped us connect the dots and share insights on how the pandemic has impacted industry dynamics. Thank you for joining us virtually once again.